Hello, I'm here with Oliver Woodgate, the director of Two to the Morgue. Can you just give us a quick summary of your opening scene?
Yes, our opening scene for our up-and-coming film Two to the Morgue encompasses the idea of a female mob boss for a personal journey into a male-dominated world into the mafia, and it shows her very quick descent into blood and mayhem, finishing in a beautiful ballet of death.
Why did you choose a female mob boss? Isn't that quite unconventional for a mob or thriller sort of film?
Yes, I guess it is. We wanted to challenge the stereotypes. We wanted a female protagonist as the lead for as many big films like Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, Casino. What this did is it allowed a forefront for a female to come forward and be a part of it and see what her take was on a mafia world and just how the whole situation works. It worked for what we wanted. The story was well structured around it, and even though it breaks a lot of conventions, I guess it makes something that's new, because not a lot of the times you see women in lead roles playing a very angry and very violent part in British cinema.
So, do you think you have sexualized your protagonist?
Yeah, it was completely deliberate what we did. She appears in a red dress, which is very similar to a harlot's or whore's. It's like kind of that red passion colour. We did it because this conforms to theories such as Mulvey's male gaze, which show her sexualised in the needs for the male industry, which does actually go with the story quite well, because it's a very male-dominated world, the mafia, in fiction as well as in fact. So for a woman to get up there, we'd often have to think she'd have to use something, that's not just her intelligence.
So what was the inspiration behind the dress?
The dress is inspired by 1930s neo-noir. We have that passion red, as I said before. And obviously it contains to femme fatale, very similar to Zack Snyder's Sin City films, highlighting certain colours, which we did in our opening scene, making that red prominent against the blue-tinted background. It just shows a difference to modern thrillers and to old 1930s neo-noir.
I can see that you've made very deliberate choices about sort of the mise-en-scène you've seen, especially with costume. So who was actually responsible for costume, as in the protagonist, and also for the people being tortured?
The special effects were down to our special effects designer, Sarah Betts, who created many of the blood, guts and goriness of it that you saw. For example, we had the three cuts across the abdominals on a man being tortured, which was a reference to Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee's last film, and it was things like that we wanted to use the special effects to make throwbacks to original thrillers.
Well, you were very good at creating suspense in your opening scene.
Yeah, something we tried very hard to do. We had Daisy's heels hitting on the floor as she walked, made that very loud, quite piercing sound to quite a soft ambient sound we had in the background, and then we had the match of the motorcycle coming past to build that tension up as if something was going to happen, and it dies away again as she comes down the steps into the cellar. The didgeridoo sound was meant to be a very strong link to horror thrillers such as Sinister, which having that tension to build a tempo throughout the whole piece until you have that final shots when it's just silent and it goes back to the walking and that sound playing through as you see all the gore as she walks out.
So obviously enigma is essential to an opening scene, especially within the thriller genre. How would you say that you have effectively created that sense of enigma in your scene?
Yeah, the enigma was very prominent within those parts, and we wanted to create something that was unique, and it wasn't just a plot twist, but was something that was in plain view, but you just couldn't understand it. The beginning of the scene has the shots behind the woman as she sends the text. This is obviously, you don't know who she is, you don't know what her plot point is, what her relevance is, or what she means to other characters. And then you see our friend Daisy walking as the lead female protagonist, and again you just see her feet and you have that connotation of the red and the heels, but again you don't understand what her purpose is or what she means for the story whatsoever.
So do you think you could tell me a little bit more about your camera work and style of filming in your opening scene?
And the reason why we use this is very similar to Andrew Tchaikovsky's work, with some of the best tracking shots we've seen in cinematic history. And what this did is gave so much emotion to without having to show too much of the actual figures, and it allowed a more connection with the environment. Very similar to Martin Scorsese's work on many Freddy Zoolander tracking shots throughout Goodfellas, to show how that character is related to the scene and his power or her power within the scene. We used angles such as the Dutch angle a lot. It's a very arty shot in the cinema world, but this was to show a confusion within the characters and a confusion between why someone was there and why someone was interrogating them.
So what was your reasoning behind the style that you chose to display your titles?
Well, some of the best thrillers of all time have been from Alfred Hitchcock's collection. Some of his works like Vertigo, Rear Window, and North by Northwest. So we wanted to celebrate this idea. So we had very similar text styles in which they would appear over the buildings.
Thank you very much. That is all we have time for. This has been Oliver Woodgate, the director of Two to the Morgue, and you can see it in cinemas in 2017.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.